right, good afternoon, everybody who showed up. Good afternoon. Right? How's it looking out there? Nice and sunny. Good morning. Good morning somewhere, I guess, right? This, in its spot. I'm going to put those critter drawings. There they are. Working on some cover ideas. Aloha. Is that a coming or going aloha? Alright, where's my sketch? My thumbnail. How are we doing out there? Good afternoon. That's there. And then over here. Let's see, where's that guy? There we go. Nothing there. I have a logo there. If all things go well, right? Assuming a lot. There's my mug. Let's get this light up higher. Out of the way. But most will be looking in the bottom half of this. So let me zoom in on that on the overhead. what's going on in Aloha Land? Assuming Aloha is still here, of course. Never want to assume too much, right? That back. Oh, hello over there, Saboteur. This cover ideas. So the grid is just it's a layout based off of a standard American comic book size. So I've been using. I made my own. I thought about putting it up for sale on Gumroad or something like that because I've got, I've got up here. I got away. Here's all my thumbnails for it. So the thumbnail I'm working on is based off of this one right there. But it is like this isn't the 22-page one, but this is like I have these set up for like a standard comic book doubles page spread, and then I put information on there, and so it kind of helps me plan. So I spent a little time making these in Affinity a while ago, and I've updated this one recently with the newer font I picked up. But also, I plan that I have a larger one that fits actually onto a full regular comic page. So that's what that grid is. So like the title goes here, and the title I'm using right now is that big, takes up that much space. So that's why that's there. But I have a comic book project I'm working on. I finished up the roughs for a first issue the other day, and I wanted to let that kind of sit for a bit. Maybe work on a little bit of text to put on top of it. And so that's just over here on the, well, I just grabbed put it into a binder to make myself more organized. But kind of works like, oops, fall out. Like there's the open page, and then, there's the next pages, and then the next pages, and so on. But I worked that out over the weekend, but just dove into that, and got that blocked out. So hopefully I can push it to a nice finish. But the story is basically humans have settled on this planet. We're calling it BR-13R. And anyway, this is set about 80 years later, and they're in a difficult situation. So they came to this planet assuming they'd be able to, eat the local plants or wildlife, and more or less live like they did on Earth. But it hasn't quite worked out that way for them. And so this guy, he's part of a group of explorers, and they kind of go out and find some of the colony ships that crashed when they first arrived and try to find some more supplies. And he was part of a group that went out 30 years before, or 20 years before, I haven't decided yet exactly how far back. but he went out earlier with another group when he was young with his father, and he was the only survivor. And so this is much later. The colony's in more difficult circumstances now. It's been that much later, and he's been called out once more to go check out this ship, but this time he has to go alone. So he's really the last one that can do that. So he's been selected anyway. He's uh, has to go out into the wilds of the planet BR-13R all alone, or Briar, and he's supposed to seek out and recover the beacon information from the lost ship, and he's out there doing. There's some more complicating things about it. Oh, look, we got ourselves a bot over on Kick. I'm going to properly dispose of them. There. And they're gone. But, I want to pitch this to some publishers. See what they think. So I've been working on a pitch project, so I wanted to get the whole story outlined, and then that back up. That story outlined, and then get the sample page done. So most of the places I've looked at, you look at like Image or Boom or any of these other places, they want you to have, usually about 5 pages, a cover, a synopsis, and kind of your overall pitch. And so I've been working on this for a while, and I had some family events happen during the end of last year that I had to work with, obviously, and so that kind of distracted me from the project for a bit, but it was all worthwhile and necessary, but still, a lot of stuff to do. So I've been back focusing on it over the last couple of weeks, getting that story revised and thumbnailed and all that good stuff, so that I can put this out. So I'm working on what I call a rough. And so the idea here is, I've gone from my thumbnail to a little bit larger scale. And I want to work out some of the details here, things I want to put into the larger one that I can go get some reference. Probably just use myself. I'm not quite as healthy as this guy is, but I can get in the pose and wear an approximated costume that he's wearing, or uniform, outfit, however you want to call it. And get some good reference. I did it before with some earlier stuff, and it really made a difference for me. So definitely gonna follow through on that. So the rough game, I kind of like to keep it really, really loose and open, so that what does it go back and erase it back, all of this, and then clean up the lines a little bit before moving on to the next phase of things. Kind of seeing what he does, also helping me kind of finalize, the uniform he's wearing, the equipment he's carrying, etc. But I wanted to work on this. So I usually come in the morning and do some morning studies. I did a morning study on my own. I was a little late getting started, so I just figured I'd do that separately. So Yeah, so that's kind of the story here. But yeah, he goes out and to locate this beacon, and it kind of breaks down a lot of things that have been going on in his own colony, the reasons why things are the way they are, commitments he made when he was young that are impossible to maintain as he gets older, um, that he probably shouldn't have made in the first place. But you know, he was young, right? So he's kind of dealing with that as well. Um, yeah, so okay, I put all this together for my own little thing, and hopefully I can find some of like I wouldn't mind doing it as a crowdfunder, but I really need to get my Instagram more reactivated. It's my largest platform, but it's kind of been somewhat neglected over the last couple of years. You know, this is a nasty creature that he's run into in the forest in the tangles of BR-13R, and they cause him a great deal of angst and trouble. So I'm trying to get them kind of roughed in here. So yeah, I thought I'd come on for a bit. We've got an hour, a little over an hour before I have to get the dog out for his WALK. Move this guy up. Nice thing about trying to keep it loose with the roughs is you don't worry about erasing things or moving things. Just do it. I mean, I could do this all on my iPad or the computer, but I kind of increasingly found myself not wanting to use digital stuff as much. So I don't know if it's like the AI nonsense going on, but um, so yeah. So yeah, I got a whole bunch of cover thumbnails I've done over different time periods, and wanted to get something. I had like a character sketch that I did that I've been using on my pitch document, and I wanted to get that out of the way. So I figured working on this would be a good idea while I'm working on that. But you'll see a bunch of the stuff I've done for concepting that kind of involves developing and thinking about this world and the things that I've been thinking about doing with it. Some kind of maybe some kind of tree going down over here. Get them all entangled up in this situation here. Cut it up there so I can put some other stuff up here. I've been going, spending a lot of time over the last year or so, kind of really revising my skill set, looking at where I can improve and to accomplish the things that I want to do. And it's made a difference for how things work out here. So these creatures, they have kind of stalks for their eyes, and it's what's up front. I imagine them kind of being like ant lions. This is how we kind of ran into them, where they burrow into the ground and their eyes stick up like their eyes stick up like their snail eyes or slug eyes, but they look like local plant life. And so they kind of hide with their eyes sticking up and wait for something to come walking up close, and then they snap. But they also work in packs. And so, hi Bosch. Dog decided to come over here. He's been sleeping in the other room, and so once in a while he's like, "Hey, it's getting close to my time. It's like a little over an hour away. So I thought I'd remind you, it's almost that time." For his WALK. I've been doing some color tests from older pages I did. I feel like I could probably do better ones now, but those were tests I did last fall in terms of penciling and inking. And so I'm going to do some color tests to see how I want to color them. So I want to keep it simple. I want to try to do as much as I can on my own. A, just because, I'm curious, and B, be cheaper, and C, there's a lot I think I need to learn, having never really done this kind of work before. We're going to use the kneadable eraser to just kind of knock back the heavy pencils. Come in here, clean it up. This rough. But I'll appreciate that. Hopefully other people will like it too. I've been working on kind of some inking approaches I want to use and tools I want to use in it. So plan is to kind of do everything I can pretty much in analog or traditional media. And then just do the coloring and lettering maybe digitally. I thought about doing lettering even traditionally or by hand without using the computer, but I figured I don't have to do everything, but I should try and do as much as I can on my own. And it's also the other thing that's good for me with this. This is kind of my research project. So I teach at a university, and I've been kind of just paying attention to a lot of the things that have been going on market-wise. I have a background doing concept art and fine art. There we go, get the whole thing in there. And I could go out and to research. It's supposed to be part of what I do in order to maintain scholarship in my area. That usually involves kind of some kind of professional activity. It can be other kinds of things too, but that's usually what it means. And I don't know. I kind of look at what's going on concept art. I talk to some people, pretty high level concept artists, and the things that they're being forced to do with AI as part of their job that they don't want to do at all because it doesn't really work very well for what they need it to do. And I'm like, if I just did my own thing, what if I could make this happen? So, yeah. I bought some screen tones. I haven't tried them out yet. I'd like to. I haven't gotten into them. Expensive, so I should just use them, just so I use them. So let's go to attach here. Go back. lines. I just need to pull them out and just play with them, see if they do things that I want to do. I've been paying attention to kind of what's going on in comics lately too, American comics, and seems like there's a good opportunity to do interesting stuff right now. So, um, but yeah, I did think about doing all the hand lettering. I did actually do that. I did some test pages a little over like a year and a half ago, and did all the hand lettering because I already had the script. I was doing some test pages using the Blade Runner movie script, and so um, I was kind of using that as a guide. And did kind of the opening scene with that, and um, so I already had the text, so I was kind of doing a little test with it. So I have a little Ames lettering guide around here and all that good stuff. Um, but I do feel like I want to play around with those screen tones more because like there's a lot in there for me. I can kind of automatically do it on my iPad, so I've been using a program called Infinite Painter for a long time. In fact, I've worked with the company a little bit to present for them in the past at Lightbox, and they I mean they have a lasso fill drawing tool. And Clip Studio has one. There's a plugin you can get for Photoshop, but the one they have, you can actually apply textures to it. So you can put like screen tones inside of it and draw with those rather than using like a brush that makes screen tones. So I made a set of screen tones for those digitally. But I feel like if I'm putting like the art on the paper, that I want to do all of that analog if possible. Um, but I enjoy the inking process and the. So I guess I need to bring that in tighter. I enjoy the all that kind of the traditional media or analog media process a lot. What was your comic about? I feel like you've been in here before. Let's see over there. There's the hood. Come off his head. Ah, serial killer, huh? I think Mark Miller, he did a Kickstarter not long ago that was dealing with a serial killer situation. Though the twist at the end, I saw like a million miles away when I read it. Excuse me. Oof. It didn't really surprise me all that much, which I don't think he was aiming for. Um, it's about a guy. It's called Psychic Sam, and it was about a guy who he sees visions of a murder before they happen, and and so he has like he goes out and kills these killers before they kill, and so it becomes this question of is he doing the right thing, and then there's initially he avoids it. He doesn't want to kill anybody, and he sees people get murdered that he witnessed getting murdered in his visions. And so he ends up starting to chase some of these people down to stop them. I think he even finds like he has to kill them. Like there's no other way to deal with the situation. Um, the other thing with this colony is they are long isolated from Earth. So this isn't like Star Trek or Star Wars where you can just like zip around, the galaxy visiting places. There's no warp drive or anything. And so, when they left Earth a long, long time ago, probably a couple thousand years earlier, there was no turning back. Their ancestors, were born and raised on the ship, and he's kind of the second generation, or second generation born on the planet. So, they've never been to Earth. They know about it, but it's part of their culture and traditions. But they're long, long disconnected from it, and that's kind of part of the foundation of the story too. Is that there's no help coming; it's just them, and so they're not anticipating any future assistance. So that thumb would really be visible, huh? They're just kind of stuck there, so they have to deal with the situation they have, work with the supplies they have, and try to find a way to survive. And so uh, that's one of the reasons he's been sent out as one of the early ships. There was some kind of something happened when they first arrived in the solar system of this planet, out of the solar system BR, and a number of the other colony ships they crashed, separate from the main colony group, and So they assume they're all been dead, right? They found a couple of them over the years, like he was the last one 30 years before, but there's never been any survivors at any of them, and so he's. I have not. So my background, I've done gallery shows with like fine art painting. I've done worked as an illustrator at a creative studio, and I've worked with video game companies doing um, concept art, some models and things like that, but mostly concept art. And then mostly teaching really has been my jam. So I've taught at 7 universities, currently this one for the last little over 2 years, and kind of looked at kind of what I've had going on and things that I really like doing. And was like, I should give this a go. I was working on a kind of a concept portfolio refresh, and as I was working on it, I was having these stories suggested to me while I was doing it, and so I've decided, hey, you know what we're going to do? We are going to work on that. I used to like, as a kid, I wanted to do comics. Of course, a lot of kids do, right? But I learned when I was a kid in the '90s. I graduated high school in '96, and back then, there was no internet really at all. But I saw the comic book artists only made a certain amount of money. It was like their page rate, and I did had no idea that there was this thing called royalties, where if you sell something that sells really well, you get more money on top of that. And of course, there's been a lot more advances lately. Things you could do with crowdfunding or other kinds of print and distribution things that you can do, which didn't exist when I was a kid. Hello, over there on Kick. But so it's kind of got me rethinking that. Like, well, if I can make it sustainable, you know, and something I wanted to do as a kid, but I just didn't think it was financially feasible. The page rates I thought were like, well, you can't live off of that, obviously. Um, but I was wrong, obviously. But kind of got me rethinking things a bit and considering what I should do. So, um, um, so started writing this story a while ago, and then I've been trying to really figure out who the character is and what they mean and what's their kind of core motivations and all that good stuff that's really important. And that's kind of answered a lot of questions. When I started making art, like, well, I was a little kid, right? So like most kids, I made drawings and all that. But growing up, like I always got, for like my birthdays, I always got a ream of we call it typing paper or copy paper, um, printer paper. I always got like a 500 sheet thing of that as a kid, and Uniball pens. But I like these .5 Uniball pens, which I haven't used in a long time, but I really liked them as a kid. So that was like my universal birthday and Christmas present every single year. And um, so, and I always did that. So, and then studied art at university and high school, and worked as a professional. at assorted places for a long time, and mostly been teaching, like I've said before, but but yeah, so I went to grad school, and they're like, hey, you should try teaching full time. Like, oh, I hadn't really thought about that before. And so when I finished grad school, I started applying. Got some offers on full time spots, and did that. Have done that for off and on for a long time now. So, but I'm not young anymore, relatively speaking, I guess. Keep pushing too hard on that tip. So yeah, but I've always done art and stuff, so it's something I've always enjoyed, different kinds. That's a mess right there. So, but yeah, I've always read comics and thought about them and experimented with some different things. But I really wanted to lock down and figure out, storytelling and all that. And the last university I taught at, I was kind of tasked with teaching drawing to uh, motion designers. So that's a very, very kind of specific kind of art profession that was attached to the motion design department at Ringling College of Art and Design in Florida. And while there, I learned a lot about visual storytelling because I needed to teach storyboarding and things like that. And I had done a lot of that, and so I learned a ton doing that while there. Um, and kind of got me thinking a lot about storytelling and things that I can do to convey a stronger narrative. So as I was working on this new project for myself, I started having like stories suggested in my brain as I was working. I was like, maybe I should just give this a go. So start writing it and putting it all together. Let's see, where's my piece of paper? Let's see. First. So I don't know if that answers the question properly or not, but yeah, I've been pretty much drawing my whole life. anyway, the planet Briar here, BR-13R, um, it has some unusual properties. So when they arrived, there's no living civilization on it. There's no aliens, like in terms of like like us, intelligent aliens living on it. But there's evidence that there was an ancient civilization on the planet in the form of kind of artifacts and architecture. But there's no representations of them. There's um, no bodies. There's no fossils, and it looks like they've been gone a very, very long time, and they don't know why. The other thing, the planet is kind of strange, is that they didn't expect this when they originally set out on this mission, on this colonizing opportunity. But planet also appears to be, it looks like a giant tangle of plants. So they it's like a giant ball of tangled plants, and so they're it's a very strange situation. And I'm not sure what to do about it. So again, when they arrived, there was a big problem, and some of the ships crashed, and only one colony group kind of stuck together in the initial landing. Well, I'm going to be on for about another 45 minutes, if that helps your situation at all. I just came on randomly. I didn't come on this morning. I was like, I want to work on these. And I thought, well, I might as well work on them while I'm live. But yeah, so anyway, there's all this architecture and artifacts, but yeah, there's nobody there, and they don't know what they were like really, what they look like, and then the colony group, they mostly just stay inside their space. They don't go out very often because there's a lot of these dangerous animals out there, and they really can't. They've kind of found they can't really eat anything locally, and that's a big problem. So that's one reason why he's going out to find this other ship where the beacon is just turned on, so they know where it's at. And because of the way they all landed, they can't leave, so they're kind of stuck. Um, so, you know, I appreciate that. I appreciate the rewatches. Plus, if it's quiet, you just like double up the speed or whatever and watch it really fast, right? So yeah, so they stay in their colonies, and he was sent out a long time ago with his father and a group of guys that are specifically tasked with finding these ships and recovering the salvage that's there to bring it back so they can keep the colony going. And he was a member of one that a long time ago where it just went really terribly, and it didn't work out very well. So he's dealing with that as well. So him in some light. On these silhouettes. All right. All right, I'm going to move this guy up a little bit. So I'll drop him in. Now, one of the problems I deal with too is, like, I do want to make sure like the alien life feels really alien, but also still communicate, what it is. And so I think as part of the process of designing the world originally, it's got me thinking a lot about the environment and the kinds of niches, different animals would occupy, and made that kind of an important part of the narrative. Probably might even sculpting some of these, whipping out ZBrush. Or I've been using Nomad Sculpt a lot over the last few years, and I could do pretty much everything I want to in that. And they made a desktop version not too long ago, so maybe use that. So multiple things going on. But yeah, again, he gets approached to go out on one more mission to see if he can recover supplies to keep keep the colonial mission going, keep everybody alive and fed. And there's a reward. It's important for him if he succeeds, or even if he just goes out and does this. So it's got some good motivation to get out and make this happen. Tell you what, though, if I get into it, if I actually get this published the way I want to, it's going to be a pretty hefty effort. No. Well, I saw the first Avatar, when it came out in theaters a long time ago, and it doesn't really factor into what I'm doing here. That's a very different kind of movie. I didn't watch the second one, but I've enjoyed shows like Scavenger's Reign. What I liked about it was it's been inspirational for me, and that was like, for the most part, what a great job they did making, aliens feel really alien in it. One of the things I'm kind of letting drive my narrative here is, that the motivations of the characters and the situation they're in. And so this kind of isolated colony thing, I think it is fairly distinct to a certain degree. Most shows they have like some kind of super fast, light drive machine or something like that they're using, or they go to sleep for decades at a time. But there's a lot. It's more about human versus nature, which is a very old subject, right? So if you were to go read like Jack London books, right, that's a lot of what his books are about, are man versus nature. But in one of the ways I've kind of, I think, hopefully avoided the too similar trap, I hope, is by, again, driving it through the characters, and then I kind of had my own little unique project I started before I saw a lot of these things, before they came out. So hopefully it won't be too similar to anything. But I also don't worry too much about. So I'm not trying to pull from anybody necessarily, but I also don't focus too much on originality. I think if I focus on the authenticity of the characters and the feelings of the stories I want to share, then then I'll come up with something I think will connect with people. Hopefully. So that's kind of my approach to the story. Because there's a lot. Every story really is basically the foundation of every story is someone goes out to do a thing or get a thing and come back, and in the process they change. So like I've been using the Dan Harmon story circle as a plot device for laying out the general story, and my thing isn't going to end up being a Rick and Morty episode, of course. I'm not going for that, but it's a way of thinking about the experiences that the character is going to go through and the change that he's going to experience and how to kind of structure that generally. And then it's a matter of working out what his motivations are and why that matters to the character. Um, so that's kind of how I'm trying to think through the story. Now I'm pulling from things that are important to me and my own experiences to a certain degree, um, to communicate some of the ideas, and that's going to be, hopefully universal, but also distinct. Is the goal with any of that kind of stuff. So that's kind of hello over there, Gigabox. If that is your real name. Let's put that over there. But I get my tongue right. So yeah, so that's kind of how I'm working the story. So I'm not, I look at lots of stories and watch a lot of different things and think about them and try to draw inspiration from them. So maybe there's like types of things I've seen or thought about when I've watched other things and say, oh, what if I did this? But it was my own way of doing that. Or that's better. I have a bigger eye like that. Oh, I'm sure that's 100% accurate too. Um, so that's how I'm thinking about it. Again, probably just me trying to put together this world building project. And I was like, well, I had this little sketch I did of it's like a giant tree planet, but Argentina, huh? Um, anyway, so I've got this initial issue plotted out, 22 pages. Got the story. Well, I've got the initial issue thumbnailed out, and or not rather rough. So like roughs like these, and then um, so um, my dog's like, "Hey, do you know it's almost 4?" And I'm like, "It's half an hour from 4." Hola Argentina, right? Something like that. Sadly, I no hablo español. I'll do some circular plants here down below. Um, yeah, that's what I'm thinking over there on Instagram. Wise Gus. That's somebody I know, or can't always tell on Instagram if I'm or anywhere else if I'm talking to somebody I actually already know. Yeah, so I got a comic book pitch I'm working on. So this is a cover. Did a bunch of cover thumbnails a couple days ago. Actually, did a whole bunch of roughs and thumbnails for story. So this is the thumbnail here that I'm working on. So I wanted to rough up 3 or 4 of these today. Similar pictures, yeah. I'm working on a project, so um, putting together a pitch. And so I thought I would share that while I'm doing stuff online. Um, so yeah, I'm working on a pitch doc, and so I need. I've been looking at different comic book companies and what they required. Is this homoerotic fan fiction? No, I would not be qualified to write that. Sadly, tragically, it's Javier Milei fan fiction. That's what this is. That's the only thing I know about Argentina. But we have a chainsaw and a flamethrower or something, and lots of models hanging around. But yeah, it's just where it's a adventure, sci-fi, horror. Is what I would call it. Um, so he gets set out on this mission to recover supplies, or rather to find the beacon and find out what information it has, so they can send out a crew to get to salvage the supplies. So he's not even really supposed to go beyond the beacon. And so Act One is really him getting to the beacon, and Act Two takes beyond that, and Act Three dealing with the consequences of what he finds uh, when he comes to the final destination. So so um, yeah, so that's kind of what we're working on here. Is figuring that out. So these are some covers for that. So most of the places that call for pitches that you can do, so like Image or Boom or any of the major publishers that publish creator-owned stuff, they um, they have a certain requirements. So usually it's 5 pages of story finished, right? So whatever that means, colored, lettered, inked, colored, lettered, etc. And then it's a cover, and then it's a synopsis, and then kind of your plan for it overall. So not just like who's it for, and what market does it work with, and who do you expect to be interested in it, and all that kind of important stuff. So, um, I want to put together at least twice as much stuff as I need, so I can select from that to include in the pitch. I want to have the logo working really well, and I want to have the 5 pages be really strong and show kind of some different moments from the story. I think the first issue is going to be like 3 or 4 of the pages that I'm going to do finished. So I'll probably do like 10 pages from the first issue, or 8 pages, something like that. And then the other ones will come from other parts of the story. So, yeah. So I want to do some roughs of these these covers. Do like 4 or 5, 6 of these, and then pick a couple to take to finish, and do that. So let's see, that's some water over here. Nothing gets me thirstier than drawing. One advantage of teaching is it's taught me to talk and work at the same time. I don't know if that's the best idea in the world, but it's definitely something I can do, which is but the idea of this rough is I can then blow this up, or put it in, blow this up, print it out, light box it, or print it on a final sheet of paper, and then get this done up larger, penciled, and then get that inked. This is the tool that he has here. It kind of looks like an axe. It's really kind of more of a multi-tool, and does a bunch of different things. So it's kind of a sci-fi device. The cylinder back here, it's actually a drone. So when I was beginning working on this as a concept project, I was trying to think about unique things, and he's got a controller for it and all that good stuff. I also really need to finalize his outdoors uniform here, so that I'm not constantly reinventing it. So one kind of good rule of thumb that I've heard before, but I just haven't thought about in a long time, is from Sean Gordon Murphy, and he was saying, "Hey, it's a good idea." What he generally does for his uh, comics and his inking is he plans on it being about 70% dark, 30% light, or vice versa. So that way it kind of has enough darkness and lightness to make the contrast really nice. And so he does kind of a 70-30 rule for most things. So I want to start kind of planning that out because I think that'll work really well. Unless there's some kind of exceptional situation for me. So if I can do that in the rough for the thumbnail to really get the the value patterns well defined. Because I want the ink to do most of the work. Been looking at coloring styles, and I think if I can force a simpler one on there, then that would be optimal, I think. So um, but part of what I'm doing this project too is kind of bring together all the things that I've learned over the years and taught. So I was talking about storytelling being a thing, but I've taught figure drawing and perspective and painting and drawing and illustration and concept art and color theory and all these different things. And I want to kind of bring them together in this one kind of big project. And so it does lipstick on it, the heavy line there. I need like a proper little pencil holder thing for my desk. But that's kind of one of the goals here, is to look at all the things I've learned and make a big project out of it. Kind of show how all that kind of comes together, culminates in a hopefully successfully told story that engages viewers. I think I found a good hook for my character and kind of his why things are the way they are for him. So that's kind of my intent. Push the value, just filling all the way straight down just to flatten out the shadows a bit. But yeah, so that's kind of what we're pushing over here. It's not an eraser. This is an eraser. So that's what I'm thinking. I don't know what you all think, but that's what been occupying my thoughts for a while. So when I got back here to Virginia after the winter holiday, the Christmas break, New Year's, um, took care of a bunch of paperwork stuff I had to get locked down, and then jumped back into this project and trying to get it locked down and focused on, and looking forward to it. It'd be curious to see what happens if it actually does get published or adopted. Um, and see what I can make happen. I think it's a good project. I think it'll be a story people would like to read and follow and keep track of. Story I think I can really sink my teeth into, and hopefully be good for lots of things. Pull that back a bit. So yeah, so guy goes out to face the dangers of Planet Briar. BR-13R. And he's on a final mission, possibly a one-way trip to save his colony and save his family and set up the future. Well, thanks. I'm going to be back this evening to work on it. I'm going to do another one at least over here tonight. And I got classes tomorrow afternoon, evening. Okay, Bosh. Nobody chewing on you back there, are they? Hope not. Got 10 minutes and then we'll take off. So I'm excited about the potential. And probably about doing these covers painted, but we'll see. I think as long as I get a really good drawing out of it, I'll be happy with that. But right now I've got it set up so it's about 12 issues long. It might take more, it might take a little bit less, but that's kind of the general plan. And but yeah, so secondary storylines mostly what's going on back at the colony while he's away. Like what's going on with his wife. Mosh, are you okay? Somebody chewing on you? Do we need to get you in a bath? Well, I'd rather not, but we got to, we got to. Right? For no reason we pick up fleas really easy down here, and I have a feeling he might have picked up somebody. Somebody. Wouldn't think so with the weather being what it is, but maybe there's somebody in the house. So I might have to give him a little bath tonight after dinner. He will not like that, but you know, I'm not chewing on himself. I don't want fleas. I think it's just a function of living where I do. We don't like, right? Nobody wants fleas. He just knows somebody's chomping on him, which is not nice at all. He doesn't like being chomped on. All right, Bosch. I'm waiting for the W-A-L-K word. That's the only OK Bosch I care about is saying W-A-L-K, but pronouncing it. Yeah, the opening of the story has him on the run from these guys here. So I figured they'd be a good first cover to deal with. And then There's also interesting suggestions on kind of how to name characters. So I think his name is going to, the name of the comic and his name will be Breach. And look around, I haven't really seen anything with that name. So I think that would be a good one to go with. It's nice, one syllable, one word. And then it's Breach, a legend of Briar. Originally, the project kind of code name was Bramble, but the Legend of Briar is the BR-13R thing. And the idea with that is, it's kind of a planetary designation, but doubles up as a be mine. Good stuff. So that's where the names come from on here. Get this marked off. So clean that up a little bit. My own sanity. But yeah, one of the things I was thinking about the authenticity versus the storytelling thing is by focusing on who the characters are and the situation they're in, and who they authentically are as living people within the story, and kind of how they would naturally respond, or how their psychology makes sets them up for the situations they're in. I think helps me avoid worrying too much about repeating other people's stuff. It's like the way that their colony works is very different than like we see in what's it called, Scavenger's Reign. But I saw a lot in that show that I really liked, and hopefully has a positive influence on things that I'm trying to do. But I'm not trying to make the same kind of show that they're making at all, or the same kind of book, rather. My intents are very different for the kinds of characters, but there's a lot in there I thought was really interesting. So, I don't repeat that line, but I want to change that angle there. So I think that'll help with with that particular aspect. But it's 4 o'clock. I gotta get the dog out before he chews my leg off. He's being very patient over there behind me, reminding me how patient he is. So thanks to everybody that came in, and we'll talk to y'all later.